I'm with Alex Petzold, who is the founder of TokenX. So can you tell us a little bit about what your company does? Because I think it's really interesting.
Sure, absolutely. So TokenX protects sensitive data for our customers. With all the global landscape around privacy and compliance, one of the things that our platform focuses on is making sure that our customers don't have to deal with payment card data or privacy data. We take all of that information off their hands and give them tokens back, which are surrogate values that don't have the same sensitivity as the original data element.
Now, I bet you're seeing a huge uptake as people really start to understand what they're giving away with their data.
It is, very much. So TokenX started off in the payment card industry, and tokenization, our core technology, focuses on tokenizing payment card information and making it non-sensitive. So we had the vision and the foresight 10 years ago when we developed our platform to understand that privacy was coming next. So stateside, we're looking at social security numbers, the one number that identifies me as a human being in the United States, realizing that was going to be an element that needed equal protection, but even looking overseas and kind of globally around the compliance landscape, making sure that our platform could accommodate those different privacy elements to ensure consumers and citizens were protected.
Now, it feels like there's a benefit to a company as well. Actually, if the data is slightly anonymized from my side, you can do more with that data. Would that be fair?
Business utility, exactly. Yeah, so you're able to, the values that we're returning are non-sensitive, but they're just as unique. So the business utility around the data that we're returning to our customers doesn't impact their business functions, their operations, their marketing initiatives, things along those lines. Doesn't get in the way of their core competency of making money.
Why isn't everyone doing it?
So it's interesting, the same thing that's happening in the privacy space right now happened in the payment card space about 15 years ago. People are kind of jockeying around trying to understand what GDPR really means. Right now they're talking about the legalities of it all, where's the prescriptive elements that make sure that you are meeting the control objectives around the data. Everybody's kind of looking and ogling at it, trying to figure out what to do. Once these fines start trickling in from GDPR and what we expect in the few cases to produce, people are going to take it much more seriously. They're going to start looking at tokenization, pseudonymization, other data de-identification tool sets, and implement them probably a lot more quickly than what they are today. So we're used to this. We saw this in the payment card space. It's very similar, I'd say, cycle. We expect in the next 6 months to a year, people will really truly understand the power of tokenization and how it's going to help organizations with their privacy issues.
Now, GDPR obviously doesn't apply in quite the same way in America. So are you seeing American companies actually have an appetite to comply?
Absolutely. It's really interesting to watch watch the different states, and for example, California let out with California Consumer Privacy Act. It's based largely on GDPR, and then you look at Colorado and Vermont and any of these other states, they're rolling out GDPR-like types of privacy regulations for their constituency. So there is an appetite for it. People do, like U.S. citizens do, appreciate that. They're starting to feel the pinch of the privacy initiatives that are organizations within the United States are pushing down the pipe. So there's an appetite for it. It is GDPR-like, and I think that there's going to be a very good kind of give and take once we really understand how to interact with the EU and GDPR requirements and artifacts.
Now, we hear a lot this side around potential federal law. Do you think that's something that would ever happen?
There is. So the FTC and the Justice Department are now coming together. The FTC is basically the consumer watchdog in the United States, and they are keen on the idea of more privacy regulations. So they're the ones who would be levying the fines already against organizations that have been breached and don't have, for example, internal risk assessments run on their environments, ensuring that proper controls around consumer information is protected as it should be. So there is, I say from a federal standpoint, what you're going to see is all these states have GDPR-esque types of initiatives, but they're going to conflict with one another. So if you can imagine 50 different states trying to do business with privacy information, and they all are just a little bit different, what's going to happen is it's going to inhibit commerce. And that's where the federal government is going to have to step in and say, you know what, states, that's all well and good. Now we're going to raise this up to a federal level, and it's going to be common across all 50 states. and internationally as well.
Brilliant. So if you're looking ahead to the coming 12 months, what do you think we're going to see as the trends coming out of that?
So the trend, we've looked at this in any number of different ways. From a technology standpoint, we look at it and we say there has to be tool sets available to facilitate the types of data protection that GDPR requires, and it's a very challenging problem. So providing a solution that, for example, gives customers the ability to create policies and templates by applications that they're using to interact with data is going to be very important, because those templates will give them the ability to protect certain data elements by business function. Now, from I'd say an economic standpoint, more of a macro view, the landscape is only going to become more rigorous. Hopefully there's a baseline that we can establish globally around privacy information, but it's similar to the 50 states having their own privacy initiatives. You look at each of these different countries, and we've got 3 attorneys on staff of a company of 34-ish that are focused on global privacy initiatives, and every single one of them is different. So it's, conducting business between countries is very challenging, and we hope that normalizes over the next 12 months. At least that's where we feel like the industry is pushing.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.